And welcome back. It's Friday, May 15, and I am here with my friend Denise. We've been doing this. How long do you think we've been doing this, Denise? 2 years?
2 years at least. Yeah.
Well, it's somewhere in the middle of a pandemic that's wrapped around the world and touched all of our lives. We've been doing this on Fridays, posting on Facebook, just to encourage you, to help you some kind of free encouragement no matter where you are in life. So thanks, Denise, for being here. Denise, what's in your background today?
Thank you. A long time ago, we did Teen Grandparents, and part of that was to validate how important grandparents are, senior citizens, to our kids and our grandkids. And that was one of the days we were just passing out fun things for the summer for the kids.
Love it. And that's a perfect transition to today's topic. Today, we want to talk about seniors, the seniors who are listening to this and watching this, or those of us who aren't seniors, but we have seniors in our lives. They're our neighbors, our parents, people we care about. How do we care for them? So let's talk big picture first, and then we'll get specifically on seniors. We've used the analogy throughout these conversations, Denise, of a roller coaster. And truthfully, I think when you and I started these conversations, I had no idea that we'd be doing this 10 weeks in.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I was really banking on the 14-day flatten the curve and then we're done. And man, was I wrong. So what happens to people when they can't see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, it gets very depressing because we can all withstand certain things for certain periods of time. And now this isolation is really becoming an issue. Finances are becoming an issue. Health is becoming an issue. Isolation is really, and touch. We all need touch. We can't hug our grandkids. We can't hug our adult kids. We can't hug each other sometimes. It's very hard.
Yeah. So even the healthiest person might be able to endure really difficult times for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but 10 weeks of isolation, no touch, no connections, no social lives, threatened finances, it's really having an impact, isn't it?
It is. And we can't call, most of us, our mothers or our aunts or our fathers. That was our safety net. We are it for the most part. We don't have that safety net. Or if we do, they're older than we are and we're more about caring. And so we've lost that comfort level too.
Yeah, and that's an insight you have as somebody who would say, I identify with a crowd who's a little bit older. We've joked about your age before. We're not going to put you on the spot here.
I know. I'm 75. I was 75 on Cinco de Mayo.
And the celebration was probably a little bit lacking for what it should be for 75.
Yeah.
Well, Denise, you've talked often about no matter what your age is, there's kind of common stressors. 4 common stressors. Can you remind us what those are and then talk about what they are specifically for seniors?
Well, health is always right at the top of the list. Finances, feeling isolated or not heard or not valued, and feeling like we have no purpose. It was part of Teen Grandparents to say our purpose was to pray every month for our grandkids. That was the purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to find a purpose. And we take accountability for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, of all of those 4 things, every single one of those has shown up in the pandemic. There's been threats to our health. There's been threats to our financial well-being. We've all been isolated much more than we've ever been before. And purpose, responsibility, opportunity, all have been limited.
Right.
And that's been happening over and over again. So no doubt people are tired. What is a senior specifically feeling, especially in the realm of isolation right now?
Loneliness and really that sense of touch and fear. Wondering, will the financial piece, will I be able to stay in my own home? Will I be able to take care of myself? Even take care of my, adult children? And it's a very frightening, and will I be healthy and have the insurance I need to cover, get the medicine I need, and do I even have a purpose anymore?
And when someone doesn't believe that they have a purpose, that they matter to somebody else, what do they start to do?
They start sometimes getting very angry. or sometimes getting very, very depressed. And actually, anger or rage can be a very strong sign of depression. So if you see somebody in your life that you love that's getting very angry, it's not always about control. It's more about depression.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight. I think that would help me think differently about the conversations I have with seniors. Sometimes I might say, man, they're really angry right now. They're really upset. They seem to be disappointed with the decision I just made or the thing we talked about. But it could be just simply that they are really alone and feeling very isolated.
And feeling very lack of control because we're not at the start of our earning power or the start of. Sometimes there's a lot of disappointment. We talk about as few regrets as possible. We want to have as few regrets as possible as we get older. So when we review our life, we feel that we did the best we could, not I really missed all these opportunities.
Mm. So let's say I'm a senior, I'm feeling really isolated right now. Give me a couple things I should do to help me break out of this funk.
First, we have to start getting more flexible. We live in 2020. And I think I mentioned we're in a group, we still can't figure out if we're women of wonder or women of wisdom. Wow, that Jane teaches. But when we started, we were usually about 55 and up. Now it's maybe a little bit older. Now we just had our book and whatever. Now Jane has an iPad. She can look up the translations as we're studying. And we've had trouble with DVDs. So we could just say, forget it, we're done with this because we're so frustrated. But instead we learned we have to change, we have to learn it. So we would call down to the office. Andrew or Chris or you would come up. And the last time we met before the pandemic, Jane did it herself. She fixed what we needed to fix. But in doing that, we do have to change as adults as seniors, because life is going to change every day, every year. And we have to keep up with those changes, texting our kids, that's part of life, FaceTiming. So we've got to not be stubborn about it. And that gives us a lot of benefits.
Yeah, when I think of the seniors in my life who I think have lived well in that last season, or they're just crushing their retirement.
Right.
Think about people who are continually learning, continually curious, trying new things. And they might see this toy that the grandkid has and say, well, I've never seen anything like that before, but how does it work? Can you tell me how to play it? Can I watch you do this? That approach provides the opportunity to continue to learn.
You said that's brilliant, because we learn from each other. It's relational. I learn from my grandkids, and hopefully they can learn from me. And so it's a give and take.
Yeah. A couple other quick ideas I'd throw out there for others who are watching. If you're feeling isolated right now and you're maybe afraid to get out of your house or afraid to go to the supermarket and stuff like that, we totally get that. Phone calls are really helpful. Get in your car, go for a drive. A car is a safe place right now. Go back to some of the places where you've been before, or a lot of people are doing kind of like a social distance car ride where they'll drive and park on somebody's driveway and that person pulls out a chair and talk. Just find one or two ways every day to feel like you're connecting.
That's exactly, yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So let's talk a little bit about that last piece you talked about, the loss of purpose, or feeling like you don't have anything to value. So if you're a senior, most seniors at some point choose to retire. They're stopping to work. No one's dependent on them for finances anymore. Hopefully their mortgage is paid off. What do if they don't have to do anything, what should they do?
Well, we need to find a purpose. And I have to give you credit. At Christ Church, you've put out a lot of opportunities for people to gather in small groups, prayer groups. Eric and Christian run the prison ministry. These are kids that are 10, 11 years old up to 18, whose home lives for the most part are abysmal. And a senior can write a nice little note to them and drop it off at church, and Kristen will take it. Nothing personal, you don't give your address or anything, but just something, a word of encouragement, because these kids really need encouragement. And that's one idea. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but I think you can translate that idea 100 different ways. Is no matter where you are, who's somebody in your life that you can encourage?
Right.
Then do something tangible to encourage them. Is it a card? Is it a poster you stick on their window? Is it a message you write in chalk on their driveway? Is it a meal you drop off, a pizza you order? Okay, find somebody, encourage them, do something tangible. Those things, wake up every day and say, I just want to make a difference in one person's life today.
And giving up some of our power where we can actually let somebody do for us as much as we love to do for somebody else. If we can let go of power, that helps the other person, a neighbor who might want to come over with a bowl of soup rather than saying, no, I don't need that. I don't get, let them do that because it makes them feel. I'll give you a fast example.
Yeah.
I was decorating for Christmas, fireplace. I couldn't rock climb when I was 30, but instead of calling my kids, I climb up on the fireplace to decorate. Of course, I fall off and break my wrist. Now, that was irritating to them because they were willing to help. That would have been a nice thing for them to do. So I've kind of stored down that message. Recently, they came over and helped me unload the shed. We had a time to talk 6 feet apart, but all the furniture got taken out. And I actually, believe it or not, was a gift to them because they could do something practical for me. I didn't always have to be the mom who doesn't need any help. So it's okay to ask for help. And believe it or not, that then you're talking to people and laughing and
Oh, that's a great idea. Denise, what that triggered for me is you said it's giving up power. The word there is empower. There's probably no group of society more equipped to empower somebody else than seniors.
Right.
I was in a book study last night with some people who are reading a book together as we go through a series here at church. And I was asking them who's loved them best in their life. And it was remarkable to me how many people said their grandma or their grandpa, because they were in a position of they had time, they had money, they had maturity, they had wisdom, and they just freely gave that to their grandkids.
That's so important. And we have so many good examples in the Bible, Huldah and Anne and just so many people, women, Eunice and Lois, the Apostle Timothy's mother and grandmother. And we hear that in the prison too. So many of these children, they know the Bible stories, they know the songs because their grandmother took them to church. So grandparents play a very big part.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up with this. I want to spend just a minute or two talking about, maybe you're not a senior, you're watching this, but you know seniors, your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, coworkers, whatever it is. What's a couple things you can do to care for a senior who's probably a little bit lonely right now?
I think, like you said, standing on the porch, asking them if there's something they need, listening to their stories. Sometimes seniors just need to review their lives and tell their wisdom. And I remember Dalton, we'd get in our small group, we'd get into these intense discussions and gnarled all up in a bunch. And he would just very quietly look at us and say, it's very simple. Just believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and you'll be saved. He just could sum it all up in a sentence. So learning, we want to listen to our children and our neighbors and our grandkids, and then try to give them the wisdom of our life experience.
Yeah. So here's something we'd love for you to do before you, as this video ends. Would you just write down somebody in your life that you care about, somebody that's a senior, and would you reach out to them? If you're a senior yourself, you probably know a few people that are your age that really could use that encouragement. If you're younger, find somebody. And if you don't know somebody, reach out to your local church. They'd be happy to point you to somebody in your community right now who's feeling a little bit alone. Send them a note and encouragement, and I know it will make a difference.
And I'll tag onto that. The seniors love to get mail still. And
everyone loves to get mail.
Yeah, a card in the mail is just wonderful. It just makes your whole day. And you can read it often throughout the day, and that's very important too.
Well, let's end with that. Everyone watching this can make the day of somebody else. It's a choice to be generous with what you have, your time, your talent, and your emotional connection. So we hope you give that to those people around you. Denise and I are going to do this 2 more weeks. So we're coming down the home stretch here. So thankful to you, Denise. You've been a gift to me. I think this is like free therapy for me, and I'm always grateful for it.
Well, I'm grateful for you too. It makes me use my brain.
Well,
And you
thanks everybody. We hope you have a great weekend and we'll see you next week.
take care.